Hey guys, welcome back. I just want you to know I got water, I got a towel. There's a reason for this. I'm just gonna take the lid off because I know sometimes when I get a little um, in different places, it helps me to grab something to drink, or if I'm talking for a long time, my throat starts getting a little crackly. Um, the towel, I know a lot of people's been commenting on this. A few people been wanting more heaven and more hell experiences. Um, so I've been doing a lot of thinking. I've been going back to the fourth attempt on my life and thinking if I just run down these real quick until I get to the fourth one and then dig into that one, I got a feeling you're going to see God's hand and you're going to see the devil in ways you've never seen him. And if you got little children, they probably wouldn't understand. But if you got teenagers, um, I would say watch this first, and it's up to you. But if they're into magical stuff, or if they're into Pokemon or any of that kind of stuff like that, I got a feeling they might not want to be in any of that stuff after watching this. Um, so just kind of bear with me through this, and uh, let's just start it. Okay, obviously, the first one was New Year's, leaving the party at my sister's and hanging myself. That's the testimony that's on there. Um, I left off the part because I didn't realize it, but some people said, "Wait a minute, how did you get back into your body?" Uh, when the angel of the lady left, Jesus must have come into the place, obviously on the way coming back, because he was speaking with me, and he then took me back to my body and turned me around in front of it, and just kind of like shoved me like real hard, like it was like a big thump on my chest, and he stood over me and breathed through my nostrils and my mouth. Well, I still had the rope wrapped around me, and my brother-in-law eventually helped me get it off, and I'm swelled up, and it took me a couple weeks before I could actually even eat whole foods. A lot of soft food, mashed potatoes, pudding, applesauce, cottage cheese. I mean, that was about the most without it hurt. Cold water, hot water, it didn't matter what I was drinking. It hurt. Still wasn't enough. Like I said, I spent 2 weeks kind of by myself. Didn't, it was in the wintertime and there wasn't a lot of snow going on or anything. And at that time I was doing landscaping, snow removal, and stuff like that. So there wasn't much going on. Uh, people really don't miss you a whole lot. Um, but I really thought about a lot of things, a lot of different things that happened, things I've seen. And it really upsets me a lot when some of these people come in here with their thoughts, and you know um, I did get her permission. Candace wrote a couple comments on there, and it's one of those ones like on the other video I just did. It's one of those wild moments when you just go, you know, wow. You never really know how much things are hitting, and how people are looking at things, and you know a lot of things I hold back on sometimes. And one of the things that she said was, Jesus might be needing somebody to hear that at that particular moment. And it's true. I didn't even think about that. I could be stopping something that Jesus needed someone to see or hear at that particular moment, and their life could continue on down a spiral out of control instead of changing course. So, you know, don't think that I'm not reading your comments, and uh, you know, I never thought that I would receive such kind words from people. I mean, I knew I was going to get attacked. I mean, the devil wants me shut up. I mean, he has for a long time. But so if you want me to go a little bit more back into that one, I think the first video, I think I pretty much, other than talking about different areas and different rooms in hell, there is. I mean, there's different rooms. There is a lake of fire, and I spoke about that in another video. Um, you know, I it's there's just so much wrong with it. There was another case where I hit a low again, and I had my two youngest kids, and I just felt like everything was slipping, and everything was being torn away from me, and I'm struggling. And um, at the time where I worked at, I had a good friend that worked in the kitchen, and I said, at that time, you could buy a plate of food for $2 if you wanted to eat lunch and stuff there. And I'd tell him, I'd be like, look, we don't get paid, because he worked for the same company. I worked for two companies in the same building, but I worked for two different companies. I worked for the same company he worked at, which was a contracting company, and then I worked for the actual building itself. Um, what I did there, I was a maintenance director. Maintenance. I don't know why they say supervisor, because I supervised myself, because it was a 50-bed facility, uh, uh, nursing and rehabilitation center. I also did safety training, severe weather, tornadoes, fire drills, and that kind of stuff, and did a lot of training and teaching the proper way to put out fires. And people didn't like me very well, but I guarantee you, we actually had a fire, and I was never so proud of all of them. I said, and I actually had some of them come up and say, if it wasn't for this training, I don't think we would have done this. Yeah, I want you to go home at night, and I care about these people. Uh, but anyways, so I'm looking at these life insurance policies that I've always had, and I paid on them for a long time. Um, I went home that night. I pulled my truck outside and went in. Now, this house was it. This is one of the other houses I would tell you about. Very demonic, very demonic. The people that lived there before we moved in, um, the girl was, well, that's a whole nother thing. I'll get into that later. Not on this video, but I will touch on it. So I went in. I knew every creak on that floor. I can tell when them kids were getting out of their beds. My youngest daughter, and I had my son with me. I mean, unless they're crawling out the windows, there was no way they could get down that hall. Even if they tried putting their hands and their feet along the hallway to get past the creaks, I'd still hear them, because I slept down the basement. So I went in, got my gun. It was a pistol, and I never kept it loaded. It didn't take me long to. I had bullets and stuff. It didn't take me long. It was one of them kind of like old cowboy guns. I put one bullet in there, and I'm thinking, I'm just gonna spin it around, do one click, put it in there, and then pull it back. The bullet's loaded at that point. Just like the cowboy days. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm thinking, nope, you know what? I'm going to load it all. So I clipped it out, spun it down, I put all the bullets in, put it in, spun it around, hold it back, put my finger on the trigger, and I put the gun like this, and I go, dang, what if it misses? And I'm still alive, and I'm a vegetable or something, or I can't move, and I don't want nobody taking care of me. I don't want nobody watching over me, and I don't want my kids to come out, let alone they're going to find me anyways, but I sure don't want them to find me like that. So then I thought, maybe I'll do this somewhere else so they don't have to come out and see it. And then it's like instantly, you're just like, I'm thinking, all right, what if I put it in my eye and shoot upwards? What if I put it in my ear? Will it blow something out? I mean, I'm going through all this, and then I was like, I'll just put it in my mouth and push it upwards. So I did. I pulled the trigger. Nothing. Pulled the gun out because I'm thinking, what in the world? As soon as I pulled it out and went down, it fired. Every time. It never went off. No matter how I had it, no matter where I put it, every time I pulled it out, it went off then. Well, granted, I already pulled the trigger. The mechanism flies forward, which hits it, and that's what fires the bullet out. That little latch thing on the top. I forget the names of them now, but it's not important. Like when you're holding a gun, and you got the trigger down here. I still can't think of it. I just had it too. But anyways, when you pull the trigger here, this is the barrel. You pull the trigger where this finger is. You pull the trigger, boom. Well, when it goes down and it clicks, that bullet flies out. I didn't even have my finger on the trigger, and I pulled it out, and then it goes off. My finger came strictly out of that little loophole where the trigger is. Pulled my finger out when I was looking at it, and it fires. Every time. Here's the thing I never told anybody, so you're going to be the first ones to hear this. I remember looking in the garage. And in the garage was an attic hole where you can go up into the attic. And then there was one in the house where you can go up into the attic. Never understood why they had two panel things into an attic in my life. I never understood that. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. What is the purpose of it? Because you're in a garage. Which I always thought was a little weird, because if someone got in the garage, they can go up through the attic hole and go across the attic rafters and come in through your house. Never made any sense to me. And I had a back door that didn't lock half the time, so I'd always pile a bunch of stuff in front of it so nobody could get in it. Plus, the kids couldn't get out because they'd make a heck of a lot of noise. And I'm very good where I put stuff. If you moved it, I would know you moved it. It's just like, I had a guy one time when I was at work. We were talking about it. He goes, "Yeah, right, man." I said, "Okay, let me stare at your desk. How many items do you want to move?" He says, "I'm going to move 4." I said, "Okay." So he snaps a picture with his phone. I go out, come back in, and I start putting the items back where they were, exactly in the angle they were. And he's like looking at me like, I can't believe it. I do the same thing with my shelving and stuff, because I would collect things, because that was my next choice of drug, was I just buy stuff. I had so much Pittsburgh Steelers stuff because I'm a big Pittsburgh fan. I know some people are going to come against this one, but it's true. I'm a big Pittsburgh fan from a little boy up. I just love the colors, and I just fell into there. But I would know when somebody moved something. So I look up there, and I seen this demon, like looking down at me and just looking, going, "It was supposed to be your time. I was coming to get you." And I just looked up and I was mad. I said, Lord, why? They're better off without me. Policies, I even had the policies laying on my front seat. Said all they have to do is grab them out of there, good to go. Now, granted, they weren't paid to term per se, is what they would say, and I mean, I don't know how much they would have got, but it would have been enough, I guess. I don't know what the heck's enough these days. But when you're not thinking, you're at that bottom. I always speak of a well. You know, you got the water level, like I said in the one, and the water's coming up over my head, and I still can breathe. But then I hit this slimy stuff, like this fungus stuff on the side of the bricks, and I'm still sliding, but I go into this muck that just grabs a hold of your feet and just starts sinking you. And the faster you move, the faster you sink until it's up to your chest and you can't breathe. That's when I was crying out. The Lord came down. And I think I talked about this a little bit on another video. He grabbed a hold of my hand and pulled me out. That muck was hell, people. Remember when I told you in that video, and I looked over to the left and I seen my name? It is like a mucky type thing, but then it's like, I never seen volcano lava or anything before, but it's as black as coal, this holding area. It's the one when I told you your feet fall down, like if you cut a hole in your kitchen floor and you can look down in the basement and you drop your body in there. It's kind of what it was like. So again, the Lord come, pulled me out of hell. That's where I was gonna end up if that gun would have went off that day. A place that I try so hard to stay out of. Lately, the devil just wants to come at me in every direction. Another person, let me find out where it's written, because I think this would be an awesome place to, right here. Her name's April. Again, I'm not going to give her a last name. She says, do I still see demons, and do they still hurt me? And she was talking a little bit about mental illness. Well, mental illness is the devil's trickery. He wants to keep you in that mental part of it where you're having breakdowns and depressions and all that stuff. Yes, I still see demons. I see them walking all the time. I see these shadow creatures. I see attachments on people. It's horrifying. I mean, honestly. I mean, there's days that I'll just look around and just like off the wall stuff. I actually, the one truck, when I was working for this other trucking company, I took pictures. I don't know if I have them on this phone. I hope I didn't delete them. I might have, but I think they're on my other phone. The only problem is all that stuff transferred over to this phone. So if I deleted them, good question. I don't know if I still got them, but you would. If I do, I'll figure out how to upload them onto this. I was laying back here and I wasn't feeling very well, And I kept hearing this noise, and I kept hearing voices, like different voices. And I looked up at my curtains, which is tear up everything. These curtains right here, they're like real heavy, thick curtains. It keeps the light out. And after I tear up everything in the truck, yeah. Knock my water and stuff over. But oh well. And I seen these faces come right through in through these thick curtains. I mean, literally. I'm just going to turn the camera real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Oh, gosh, as I knock everything down again. I don't know if that's even giving you an idea, but they're real thick. So, I got to be able to get this tripod not to fall over again. You know what? I'm just going to leave it down there because it's like, it's going to irritate me because it's like now I want to clean it. I'm sorry, guys. I have to clean this. I don't know. I guess that's some people would say like an OCD or something. I don't know, but it's just until I do it. So okay, breathe. Okay, but their faces come right through the curtains. It was. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. So last week we were on our way back from Illinois. We got caught in that real bad storm Friday, driving back from Illinois. But on the way going up to Illinois to drop off a load, to pick up the load that was bringing us home, there was this old farmhouse, and the windows were missing. But I seen a child standing, and I seen a guy with a rope, throwing a rope over and wrapped it around a woman's neck and hung her. Now, granted, this place is abandoned. I mean, it's an old farmhouse. It's just the stuff that I see. And I don't try to talk about this stuff too much because I had a lot of people would really said, well, you know, you ever see the movie Six? Yes, I seen the movie Sixth Sense. I mean, I don't believe I have a sixth sense at all. I just believe from a child I was able to see a spiritual realm, and it's never left me. You know, the things that would come out of my closet, and I'd watch it transform into a guy that had curly red hair. He would go sit by my sister's up in the attic. And never did he walk up the steps, because you'd hear it. Where my room was, right where my bed was, I'd be able to hear them walking up the steps. So what they seen was the transformation, and he would sit right by their closet. He'd come out of my closet and go sit by their closet. Demons, dark areas, closets, attics, basements, they love it. They love darkness. They love to prey in them areas because they love to scare you, per se. So yes, I have not really had any physical attacks after the place that I was just talking about where I used the gun. Trying to think. No, I wasn't attacked, though. It wasn't a thing, but I did run into an object one night in the hallway at a place that got renovated and stuff where Darlene's brother committed suicide at. I did run into an object, and I felt at peace. And Um, so I don't know if it was demonic or not. And even then, I mean, her dad when her dad was still alive, he come there and I told him exactly where the body, how his body laid, because he shot himself. Um, told him exactly where the body laid, where the bullet was in there, him filling the hole. I even showed him exactly where the bullet went. And he turned so pale. There was a bed still up there because, like I said, it was being renovated. And he just fell onto the bed. And he couldn't believe the things I was telling him. Things that nobody should have known. I don't know. I don't. I just called it a curse. Honestly, I did. So I'm willing to take your comments, good or bad. I know somebody's gonna bring the Sixth Sense movie into with Bruce Willis and stuff like that. I've heard it anyway. So, but only thing I can say, any other time, just try not to be so brutal on this because this is hard enough for me to speak these things. Um, I'm trying to get through this honestly. Uh, I'm him hauling around, I guess, is the better way to say it, so I don't have to get to the fourth one. Um, but anyways, so the very same house. Um, it was about a few months later. I was driving back, and where I worked at, and where it was there is about a 45 minutes to 50-minute drive. Sometimes an hour, a little over an hour, depending on traffic. Some nights. Granted, I never got out of there. I worked from 4 o'clock in the morning. I had to be there at 4 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night because, like I said, I worked two different deals in that place, where I was manager over the housekeeping and laundry division, and then I did the safety and maintenance and all that stuff there in the nursing home too. So you add up the hours, and just luckily the kids were teenagers, and we had a bus to pick them up and drop them off. And I was the only one providing. Their mom didn't do anything to help out at all, and it was set up like that through the divorce papers because if I didn't, she would never sign the papers. And um, that was a bad situation. That was 24 years of my life that emotionally, she destroyed my mind. I mean, just a bad person. Um, Today I can pray for her, and today I'm able to uh, move forward. Even when if I do run across her or anything, I'm able to function without going into different areas. But so in the same house, it was a difficult day. I mean, like the whole week was just like everything was piling up, and um, when you get divorced, there's a lot of stuff that takes place, and the truck per se that I was driving at the time, it was off another plate. Now, granted, it's not uncommon for me to leave things into other people's names, like even with Darlene's, everything's in her name, the cars, everything. If something happens to me out here, I don't ever want her to go through the headache of going into court and have to pay. If everything's in her name, she don't have to worry about it. She can do whatever she wants with it. So people says, well, that's crazy. Not really, because think about it. If you're married, and if she was to leave and took a car, what am I going to do? We're married. I mean, she took the car. She took the car. It doesn't really matter. But what am I going to do? I have to go to court then at that point. You know, I'm not like that. I assume just say here. Here's the house. Um, you know, take it all. I don't need any of it. It's a lovely house. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's peaceful going there. I really. Um, some days I just thank God that He gave her such a nice place, because I still don't feel like I'm worthy of um, that kind of stuff. You know, I know I've been forgiven, but I've never been a person that feels that I deserve things like that, I guess, is the better way to do it. But I'm very grateful. I'm very, very, very grateful. Um, so, this other house I was talking about, it's still that same demonic one where I seen the demon come down, and I end up back in hell. Um, I pulled my truck in, and the kids. It was on a Friday night, and my youngest daughter and son went to their mom's, which they never stayed there. It was just a lie, you know. But whatever. So I pulled my truck in, and I knew all I had to do is just shut the garage door, leave the truck run. I'd go to sleep. I turn the radio on, I'm listening to music, and I'm getting tired. The crazy thing is, it doesn't really seem to take that long. And my eyes are getting like burning, and you can start smelling the fumes and stuff, and I just kind of laid back in the seat, and I remember I was like making sure the truck was in neutral, because it was a stick shift, and it was a little Ford Ranger, and I set the emergency brake, and I just fell back. My head was kind of hurting, like you're starting to get a headache type thing, and I just remember just closing my eyes and just leaning back and just looking upwards, and asking God to forgive me of anything, and just pretty much asking Him not to send me to hell. And I said, please, just anywhere. I don't. I will polish the streets of, of of the gold if I have to. Just please don't send me there. Garage door opens. Nobody's home. I have the remote inside my truck, and my hands are off to the side. I never touched that remote, and I'm watching it go up, and I watch it because where I'm sitting comes all the way up, and stops. The light flashes, and I'm going, okay. So I shut it again. Hit the remote on my sun visor. Hit the remote, door closes. Doing the same thing. I'm starting to go tired again. And granted, I didn't leave that door open that long because I wasn't about to go through this whole situation again. The door closes again. The door opens again. So I'm like, okay, fine. You know how you can pull that string and it releases the mechanism from the door? The door's down, so I released it. I hit the button, and the string and the bracket went all the way back to the motor, like it was pulling it up. Well, the garage door's still down, so I'm like, okay, fine. It's going to work this time. Jump back in the truck, and I'm sitting there, leaning back, and I heard this click, and I heard the chain starting to move, and it's going clunk, 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 clunk. Well, the bracket's moving, and it reconnected into the garage door bracket, and then it stopped, and I heard it click again, and then it started opening the door, and I never hit a button. There's no way physical possible this can happen. And at that point, I was like, you got my attention. You think after the first 29,000 times trying it, I would have I would have stopped. But no, when I get into these areas in life, there was no stopping me. I'm a very stern person. Once I have my mind set on something, it literally takes Jesus or God to convince me to change my mind on stuff, because I don't have patience for a lot of stuff that goes on and a lot of people that do what they do. I just need to get away from it, walk away from it. And once I walk away from something, I most likely won't go back to it. Um, I've always been a strong-willed person like that. Well, I thank Jesus for that, because um, it saved my life quite a bit being like this. So I know he's the creator. So I'm wired and made the way that he has me here today. So the weird thing is, I get in up by the door, open the main door, and I go to reach up to hit the garage door, and didn't even get my hand all the way up to it. And no, I don't. It wasn't a fancy one where it had sensors and all that stuff. The garage door just starts going down, and I was like, "Okay, Lord, okay." So that night, I started reading the Bible, and I fell asleep. Now, granted, this house is not a nice, friendly house. I mean, from day one. I mean, the stuff that I seen when the other people were living there, what their kids were doing, and it was just wasn't good reading the Bible in that house. Let me tell you. I've had that night. I had the Bible thrown off my bed downstairs. I seen the shadow thing come out from around there and pick the Bible up off the floor, and like super fast, like over top of me, and just started smacking me right in the face with it, and mumbling some language that I could never understand, and like really just like smearing it into my face, and then threw it across the room. You would think, there was only a couple times that I actually took off away from a demon, and I mean, it's really got to shake me up to get me to move fast. I'll try to get. You can't outrun a demon. I don't even know why I even try running. It's why I always face it, because um, I don't ever recommend any of these things, because it's you got to understand. I also come from a satanic life, witchcraft, warlock stuff. I knew a warlock. I knew two witches that were full blown witches. So you know, plus living in a very very satanic home. Um, so life was different. it you know Being woke up in the middle of the night, bed shaking, throwed off your bed. Uh, I was roughly 13, almost 14, when I walked into a room, and I had one pick me up by the throat and just slam me against the wall. They would throw me down steps. I'd be pushed down steps. Uh, we were cutting down trees, and I was feeding stuff into a chipper. remember just staring at the back of the chipper, watching the wood go in there, because that kind of stuff, I don't know why, it just weird things fascinate me. Like I would, when I was little, I would run out there to watch the garbage bin dump the garbage in there and watch them smash it. I don't know why. The original Star Wars, when they're in the trash compactor and it's closing in, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but some things just what it is, I guess. But I never, when I was little, obviously I was scared of everything. But the older I got, the more hardened I got with it, the more I was able to call on them and move things and do things. You know, when you die, it changes you. I believe in them situations, my sight in the spiritual realm opened even more than what I was able to do before. So, I played with the Ouija board. I could read tarot cards. Uh, the one which was teach me how to read palms. Uh, I played a board game called Dungeons and Dragons. Years later, I ran into a guy, and I did speak about this on another video. He says, "Are you ever coming back to play?" And I was like, "Yeah, my character has to be dead by now. Your character never dies on that stuff." He goes, "No, I put a spell to put you to sleep. You come back, and I'll just remove the spell, and you'll come back to life." Yeah, no, thank you. Kids, if you're messing around with this witchcraft stuff, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever that other brown cards are called, get rid of it. Harry Potter, get rid of it. You're opening stuff that you have no idea that you're opening. Trust me. So that was my third one. Part of me don't want to do it. It's not really the fourth one, I guess. It was in between all this other, because I was older when the car and the gun thing happened. I didn't have kids or anything at this time in my life. Um, I went down the house that my dad was in was very demonic, and my dad would have flashbacks from Vietnam, and they would talk, and I recognized some of the voices, and my dad would, I believe, would become possessed. Um, this particular night, my dad was having an episode, I used to call him, and my stepmom called me, and I came down, and I didn't really know my father, but I knew what I was dealing with wasn't him. The eyes were black as coal. My dad was a very strong man, very strong man. I mean, without the demons, he was a strong man. And I had a bedroom back here because when these things would happen, I would stay until morning, get as much sleep as I could, as much as you could sleep around something like that. Um, he walked into the room, grabbed a hold of me, picked me up, and this happened more than once. It wasn't uncommon, and literally tossed me through a wall as he was holding me. Just put me right through the drywall. I hit the wooden studs in my back. I ended up getting cut open, and I seen my dad being pulled into hell, and I cried out. All I could say is Jesus. No answer. And the demons told me he'll never come back. I said, I yelled out for Jesus again. No answer. So they said, if you want him, go get him. I know what that meant. I had to go into the darkness myself. I had to reopen spells and go into the spirit realm of the satanic world. The only problem is there was no protection. And if I failed, I was not coming back. Part of me goes, you just put me through a wall. And I struggled with this. Well, that house, before, even beforehand, this stuff was happening. So, I would blame myself because I brought stuff from, different places where I lived. Put it in there. Some of the stuff I forgot. I even had it in there. But it wasn't that. You bring your own demons, when you're that far gone into something in life. So I ran to the room. I pulled out the books. I started reading. Just lit the candles and did what I had to do. I started doing the chants and calling on the spirits. They come quickly. I tell you, I would rather be in a boxing ring getting the living tar beat out of me than to go through what I was just about to get ready to go through. I seen the gateway open, and I spoke the chant over it. I knew once I entered, I had no track of time, but I knew physically earth, body, I had 20 minutes. How are you going to remember 20 minutes? In a time you're going to that doesn't exist. And I remember standing, staring at the portal. Looking at Lucifer. I told him, I said, I'll enter on one condition. And he said, what's that? I said, if I fail, you have to let my father go. And all chains are broken with him. But I want it sealed. Lucifer didn't want him. So the agreement was made. So I went. I knew I had 20 minutes. That's the last thing I remember of the earth, because at this point, my body was laying there. And I went into the spirit realm. But I wasn't powerful enough. See, I thought I was, but I wasn't. The demon behind me grabbed my body and tossed it through me, which my body then went back into it in hell. That's why I can speak of the things I speak of. Literally, my skin was ripped from my body and restored. They took my fingers and just peeled them down like you're peeling a banana. And all the while, I'm seeing where my dad was. And I'm trying to crawl to him. And they're pulling me. My nails are breaking off. It's the awfulest pain I've ever felt in my life. They're jabbing stuff through me. Laughing, just picking me up and just throwing me with the same might that my dad would do to me. And I couldn't reach him. It was the most hopeless feeling I've ever had in my life. They just kept telling me I was a failure. And I'm watching him go through a horrible torture. And he's screaming out. And I'm trying every chant that I knew, every spell. I'm fighting the devil with the devil. Good luck. Nothing worked. I just kept looking back at the portal. And I'm watching it get smaller and smaller. And I couldn't make it. Split second of reality came. See, when you enter into, as a young child, you enter into these realms and all these chants and worship these things. It's like joining a gang. They, they don't take too lightly you jumping out of something. Um, Reality was coming. I was going to have to stay there. There was going to be no saving me. I couldn't do it. I wasn't strong enough. And every time that my bones would restore my legs, they would just grab my legs, not how you walk, but bend them forward, and snap them. It was so painful. I would go back and think about when I would roll cars and wreck cars. Uh, you're just begging them to stop. That horrible laugh, the hatred. Um, my dad walks over, grabs a hold of me, grabbed the bottom of my chin and put his fingers down inside my jaw. I said, you weak fool. We're both stuck here because you couldn't defeat. You never was good for nothing. Like the first time I ever heard these words from him. I didn't know if it was him or the demon at this point. All I kept looking at was that portal. And the worst feeling in the world is to have your own dad rip your jaw down. And it hurts so bad. And he's mad, he's screaming. And I become angered. All the stuff just starts coming back to you. You just, the strength, the hatred, the things in this house when I was younger, things I learned in there. That's why when I tell people, I'm not going to fight the devil with the devil, because I fought the devil with the devil. You can't win. It was the most horrifying thing I've ever gone through in my life. And it physically manifests through my dad. Just kept punching me. Every blow I felt, it was intense. As this is happening, I watched the porter close. And I knew this was never going to stop. And they just kept screaming in my ears, and pulling my skin, ripping my face down. They kept tearing my ears off. And I finally got loose. As I ran in slow motion, and I'm feeling the demon on my back just rip my back to shreds. I made it to the light. I just looked at it. I seen people I knew walking by. You can't get rid of the thoughts, people. Everything. I never repented. I didn't know how to repent then. They attack you with it. It wouldn't stop. I was begging him to stop. And there he was. Looking at me. And all I could do was say, Jesus, please. He grabbed my hand and pulled me. He rescued me. I seen his face for the first time. Clearly seen him. Not like the night when I hung myself. But it wasn't enough. I ended up in a bad marriage. I ended up getting back into Ouija boards and stuff. Even doing magic tricks and stuff. It's all demonic, every bit of it. I I wasn't the same for a long time. I lost myself, and the devil put the wrong person in my life. 24 years. I thought of suicide all the time. I had bad thoughts. I was angered. I started calling again on the spirits. I figured if I was going to go to hell and live the rest of my life there, I wasn't going to lay down no more to no one. See, I didn't have anybody tell me about God. I didn't have anybody to tell me about Jesus. The demons were telling me it was all just my imagination. Because if God truly loved you, He'd leave you in the places where He left you. How the world looks at you. God truly loved you when He allowed you to go through the childhood you went through. I started believing it. Turned to alcohol, turned to drugs, turned to hurt myself. I would look for trouble. I'd fight. And then the devil puts the wrong people in your life. Um, doesn't matter how strong you think you are, how much weight you can put on a bar and bench. You can't beat the demons. So if any of you teenagers end up running across this, and you're playing these demonic games, you can't get out of there. It's the most hopeless feeling you will ever have in your life. But I tell you know what the worst part of it was? Not being ripped apart. worst part was looking at that light and seeing heaven. And I couldn't go there. You know what it's like seeing, because I knew them. They couldn't see me, but I knew them. The only thing I really felt love when a child was my grandmother, and I'd seen her. And I knew that was the devil. I was going to have to see that the rest of my life down there. And that's horrible. Whose fault is it? It was mine. A harmless game, he said. Just a game. Parker. It's just a Ouija board. It's just fun. Let's light some candles. Let's go stand in front of mirrors. You ever wonder why the demonic realm uses mirrors? Because it bounces yourself off of them. There's no escaping it. I never felt love out of my dad. But I loved him enough to go after him. Like I love you enough to warn you. I don't know why things happen the way they happen. I don't know why God spared me. But he did. That's why I said the one. How long did it take you to chisel outer limits before you got to the clay? You're somebody to God, okay? Please stop cutting yourselves, trying to harm yourself, taking pills, trying to drown your sorrows in alcohol, shooting yourself up with substance out of a needle. That torture isn't worth it. I'm just going to end this here. Let me pray. Our Father, I know there were so many other things I wanted to speak, but I just can't right now. I thank you for giving me the courage and the ability to get through this. Father, I just ask for protection over these young people or anybody that's fighting these demons themselves. And let them know that there is an out, and it's your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. Don't do anything stupid like I did. I thank you, Lord, for pulling me out that day. still ask for forgiveness every day. And you tell me every day I haven't been forgiven. Thank you, Lord, for going to the cross for me and everyone else. Thank you for watching over us, and I just ask for protection around anybody so that nothing forms, no power in words, and I will never give the name of the demons or the actual ways to do things. They got too many ways of knowing these now because of the devil's triangles and the very things that goes on in the dark webs. Watch your children, people. Keep an eye on what they're doing, as they might not have an opportunity. God bless you. I couldn't go into the rest of the stuff. I'm sorry.